Welcome back to another episode of the Four Train Savages podcast, episode number 234. Today is Friday, February 27th. We are a couple days away from March, and that means that we are one step closer to Yankees baseball, MLB baseball. The Yankees have officially gotten underway with their spring training, and now we are in the heat of games. Next week, I think or a significant portion of the Yankees will actually be moving to play in the WBC. So this first week of spring training, we've gotten a preview of this Yankees team that is the Run It Back Yankees. We've seen some solid play from big contributors and then younger players for the Yankees, be it a Spencer Jones, Paul Goldschmidt making some noise in the spring training games, and of course Aaron Judge is just Aaron Judge, as if we would expect anything less. But Tyler, this episode we do have some good topics to run through. It's not necessarily any earth-shattering updates. We know the Yankees added a
hmm
bat and ran in what's his name? I'm blanking.
Randall Grichuk, spring
Randall
training event.
Grichuk. I just had a brain fart. And he's been a Yankee killer for years. He's been
Yeah.
someone that has given the Yankees some fits. So they signed him to the minor league deal and will join the roster as a non-roster invite. So there's a chance that he could start if he does have a good spring. But we know that he's had a history of just being a pest for the Yankees. So we'll get into that. Also, some updates on the health of Giancarlo Stanton, where he talked about some interesting quotes from a lot of Yankees to Randy Miller, but how those elbows are those tennis elbows are
hmm
working out for him. We thought coming into the season that after last year's scare that he would be just okay, but now it's a topic of conversation when he's talking about he can't even open a bag of chips or open a bottle of something without a little bit of a pain there. So, and then of course we'll talk a little bit about Jazz Chisholm with his rumored contract ask. But Tyler, what's up, man? How you been? I know you're feeling a little bit under the weather, so you're battling through it a little bit here.
Couple
But how you been, man?
couple two tree sniffles, but all is good, Rob. I'm excited to be in March. I feel like that's the point of the winter months here in New York that I can finally start seeing like a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. Because as soon as it's March, you're like, well, April's right there, and then when it's April, it's spring, and then when it's spring, it's June.
Hmm.
Um, and just like that, we're in the middle of summer. So I'm pumped. I'm excited with, kind of where the Yanks are at. I'm in like optimistic fan mode at this point as well. Excited about all the young pitching they've got kind of rolling out so far in spring. And I'm ready for like fake games to be over already. I think that's where I'm at this point
Yeah.
in the off season.
Well, knock on wood, we've gotten through this week without any earth-shattering stuff. We know the one that gave Yankee fans a scare was Cam Schlittler with the back stuff, but he's been
hmm
throwing some pens. We haven't seen him in a spring game yet, but if that's an issue, just don't even don't even pitch him in spring games and just keep
Yep.
him ready for the season is
Seems to be fine though, the
would be my 2 cents.
comments.
Yeah, it seems like he's going to be okay from the last stuff. And then we also last episode we covered with Sheffield Shuffler who joined me. They we heard that Ryan McMahon may be the backup shortstop, but I saw an interview recently, maybe it was on Yankee Hot Stove or one of the pregame Yes Network shows, that was more of a last resort if they needed a shortstop. And I
Yeah,
know
just trying to
that,
create more depth there virtually.
yeah. So McMahon is a good enough fielder that it's not going to be out of the realm of possibilities that in a pinch they need to have him play that position. So I don't think it's
Mhm.
going to be anything too serious. But that's been since the last time we spoke. But now we have a lot of other storylines to talk through. So we'll get into the Stanton stuff. Also, the debut of the ABS balls and strike system is very interesting. We've seen the Yankees with Austin Wells and Aaron Judge used it, I think, in yesterday's afternoon game. But we're getting a idea of what it looks like, Tyler. And we've talked, you've said it, and I've said it that, hey, man, give these robots a chance because there was
Yeah.
one game. I think it was the Pirates versus maybe it was the Phillies in one of
Oh,
their
where he
games,
got like
and it
six
was
wrong straight. Or
well, there was a pitch right down the dick, and he called it a ball, and they showed it up on the big screen, and then you see where it is on the box, and that is a situation where we're going to
kind
see
of
a lot of
shows you how
change.
bad they've been. Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's some nuance to that, so we'll talk a little bit there about it. But we'll start with before we get into everything, if you guys are new to the channel, new to the podcast, subscribe, leave a comment of what you're thinking of the Yankees currently, and go follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, everywhere there, on X as well, or Twitter, however you call it. So give us a shout there. The big thing that came out, I think it was like over the weekend, I want to say, was this Jazz Chisholm speaking very candidly, and we know that he's not
Hmm.
afraid to speak very open and honest. But this quote coming from Randy Miller with NJ.com about how he would look at a potential contract, because we know this is going to be the last year until he would then elect for free agency. We also know that Jazz has talked about maybe being very open to wanting to stay as a Yankee and also being open to a contract extension in season. Me and you have sort of talked about how we don't really see that. The Yankees aren't ones to really want to extend
They
contracts
let
before
players hit free
they
agency.
let them hit free agency more times than not. And I also think that's just a sense of how professional sports is going, that players really do want to test the market more times than not. I don't know if you would agree with that, but I think that's the way that
Well,
The
yeah,
Yankees operate, and then the players are going to want to also test the market at
players
they're going
make
to
more
be
money in
curious.
free agency. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so with these Jazz quotes, the jarring, or not jarring, but the noteworthy news from this was he gave a figure to Randy Miller. It's probably bigger than that now, probably 35 million. And he said, I'm
Hmm.
28. I want an 8 to 10 year deal. And he was speaking very honest about this. Uh, and that would make that would put him in the 280 $300 million range of that contract, if that's the annual salary and that's the amount of years that he's getting. So is Jazz Chisholm a player that's worth 35 million a year, and are the Yankees going to be a team that gives him an 8 to 10 year deal? I have thoughts on it. I'll let you talk about it, Tyler, of what you thought of the the quotes from Jazz, because I it was very honest. You don't necessarily hear players say it like that, but we know Jazz.
Especially with like specific numbers and stuff.
Yeah. So he's
I mean,
paying
to be
attention.
no, he's paying attention. I think it's always important to know who the player's agent is as well. You know, you'll never see a Scott Boras client come out and give legitimate numbers out like that. Represented by Rock Nation Sports. So
Hmm.
another big agency in the sports world. But to be honest, dude, in terms of Jazz's comments, like I like the 50-50 nonsense. I like the MVP nonsense that he throws out, or maybe nonsense isn't the best word for me to use because that kind of sounds like I'm talking down on him. But I love the blind confidence he has to some degree. It comes with the other fold of that where like we're going in the playoffs. He says we're the team to beat. We're the team that's going to win the World Series. Blah 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 blah. And when things don't happen, you get a little bit of egg on your face. Here and there.
Hmm.
Um, but overall, man, and we've seen reports about this too. The Yankees clubhouse, they've typically said is like almost like a relaxed corporate environment. And
Hmm.
I like Jazz being in there, loosening things up to
Hmm.
some degree. And then I like that he puts himself on this like very high pedestal, and I do it to some degree like appreciate the manifestation of it. Do I think he's worth 8 to 10 years? I don't know. I will say if Cody Bellinger is worth 5 for 42, I think Jazz is worth 6 or 7 for 35. No problems, no questions asked. Um, so I think the years are a little long. Jazz is younger than us, Rob.
Hmm.
Do I think he can get 6, 7, 8 years in free agency? Maybe. That's not really where the market went this year. Everything kind of went to like lower AAV or higher AAV, lower, shorter term deals with some opt outs for the players. So I don't know if he'll get those long deals because it seems like teams and players and agents don't really, value that as much right now.
Hmm.
Um, but I think he can, and I think he is worth 35 a year, to be honest. And I think he can make an argument he'd be worth it for more than 5 years. Just given his age, I don't hate it to be honest, and I don't think it's that crazy especially when you compare to second baseman around the league. The only other guy that's really in his neck of the woods is Ketel Marte. Um,
Mm.
you're talking about probably the best,
It
second best second baseman in the league.
is that though, when you think about that, if the number is what he's going to be asking, is he then $15 million more a year worth than Ketel Marte? Because
No, but
I don't
that's
think
like
he is.
comparing
And
Fernando Tatis's. These are deals that
because
got done with
the
dudes that wanted to stay in extensions with
So
their teams.
the way I initially thought about it, and maybe this can be a bad little comparison, but I think about it when you look at other sports and where a position is valued. And
Yep.
maybe the one that came to mind was maybe how running backs, and I don't know, it's not the perfect comparison because running backs are more important in their sport than they would be in second baseman. But my point being that when you look at how the position is valued traditionally and just currently now, if Jazz Chisholm gets what he is being asked, and I'll preface it with saying that I don't think the Yankees will touch what he's asking, at least for the years. Maybe they would get over that AAV and they could surprise me on a short term value. But as of now in
I think he
2020,
gets six for whatever he wants, close to it, honestly.
I don't think so. And then I'll get into just his stuff off the field a little bit, which doesn't necessarily bother me as much, but when it comes with the weight of a contract like that, I do think that it is taken into account, is what I'll say. But Xander Bogaerts this year is going to be paid 25 million. Jose Altuve 25 million. Marcus Semien 25 million. Gleyber Torres 22 million. Ketel Marte 19 million. And then looking this year, Jazz will be paid 10 million. So clearly he needs to be paid more, and he is going to be paid more, like you said, because he is one of the best second basemen outside of maybe Ketel Marte in the league. But as I said, with the value of that position, for him to then he simply would be blasting through that annual salary at the second base position. And it sounds like he's going to stay a second baseman for a long time. There was rumors when Brian Hoke was talking about, oh, would they move him to center field? He's saying, oh, he's not going to play a different position. He's staying at second base. So he is going to be a second baseman. I think
Hmm.
it is it would be malpractice to pay a guy $10 million more an annual salary at that position. I just think it would be it's a little crazy to me. Now, do I think, as you said, he's a younger player, he is a important piece in this Yankees lineup. I think that he is someone that for the right price, I would bring back. I would bring back. But just I think it would be a little out of the realm of reason, and it wouldn't make a lot of sense for me to then give him 35. And here's the thing, like you said, like you opened your point with, I don't think it's a bad thing for him to be shooting for the stars. He is going to want to get value. He knows his value as one of the best second basemen, arguably the best second baseman in the sport.
Hmm.
But for the way that second basemen are valued, we know that is that the route of if your second highest paid player on the team is your second baseman, is that the winning formula? And I think, like I said, of how the Yankees believe things, I don't think that the Yankees are going to, I don't think that Brian Cashman and I don't think the Yankees are going to think along those lines. Now, if you turn it back, and I think I made this point to you in a text message or something, the last time that they had a deal like this was Robinson Cano, 10 years, $240 million deal
Hmm.
that they offered him. And would I be surprised if they look at that as their somewhat recent history and say, yeah, we're okay with passing on second baseman? I could see that also in the realm of possibilities. That I do not blame Jazz Chisholm for wanting to get his money and wanting to be the highest paid second baseman, highest paid second baseman in the sport, which I do think he can be, and I honestly predict that he will be. May it be from the Yankees or someone else, I don't know. But if I do not think the winning formula for the Yankees, or even for that matter, other teams, is to then make Jazz Chisholm or the second baseman on your roster one of the highest paid position players. I just don't think it's necessarily the winning formula. And I think that Brian Cashman and the other people within that organization are going to look at it honestly and maybe not want to extend that contract. And they're going to offer him a short-term deal would be my guess, but a long-term deal being close to 10 years and you lock yourself into that guy, I'm not so sure about it. So that's my 2 cents on it. But I do not blame him for wanting to shoot for the stars because it's his money and it's his career. So it's nothing that surprises me there. But
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think he's going to get a 10-year deal because I think in sports we've just kind of seen like those deals don't work out
yeah,
really ever. Um, Miguel Cabrera, Albert Pujols, A-Rod. I mean, the list can go on and on. So I don't think he'll get 10 from anyone, but I think 7, 6, if he wants a longer term deal, um, is totally on the table for that AAV for him. Here's the thing in terms of like the positional value. I think positional value kind of goes out the window at some point when the person you're talking about is not really in comparison to the rest of the people that play that position in the league. Like right field positional value is irrelevant for Aaron Judge because he's so much better than everyone else that plays right field. Cal Raleigh, not saying he's on the same, that Jazz is on, in the same stratosphere as these guys, but Cal, his positional value at catcher, I think is kind of irrelevant when comparing him to other catchers because he brings more to the table. If you're comparing Jazz to Xander Bogaerts, Altuve, I think Jazz is in genuinely a different planet than both those guys currently. I mean, Xander's coming off a 2-WAR season where he had a 99 OPS plus. Altuve is 35 and is coming off a half-WAR season, and he played 155 games. Jazz went 30 for 30 or went 30-30, missed 6 weeks, and is genuinely the best second baseman not named Ketel Marte. I think the only guys that are kind of in his world of comparison, you can talk about like the Nico Horners of the world, where Jazz is a better hitter than Nico. Nico's, obviously can play second and short and is better defensively. Bryce Terang kind of rings a bell as well. Again, a guy that Jazz is better than offensively, but Bryce, kind of brings a little bit of a different approach defensively and then offensively too in terms of making contact a little bit more. I get what you're saying. Like, is second base a position you pay? And my rebut to that or my retort is kind of like, I don't think it matters all the time. If you're thinking about paying like a middle of the pack guy, top of the line money to play second base, then that's a losing formula, I think. But if you get a 27-year-old that can do what he can do, I'm okay with it, honestly.
okay. I mean, I'll respectfully disagree, but I think that when you're talking about a $300 million deal, and I know that it's a different sport and it's a different age, and
I think
obviously,
marketing comes into play too, like the off the field stuff you
well,
mentioned.
I guess because you mentioned it, that I do not discount Jazz's. I like Jazz's flair. I think the Yankees need more of it. I think the
Yep.
Yankees need more guys wearing chains, doing Euro steps, touching home plate. However, as we saw over, I think it was around the Christmas break time, I him arguing with people on Twitter the way that he does, and I'm not saying this is a huge significant factor, but I think it's somewhat on the Yankees' radar that he does like to talk in this way and participate in these stupid conversations sometimes and
Cam
draws.
Schiller does the same. And he's done nothing, arguably, besides pitch well in 2 playoff
I
games.
mean that's fair. I just think like the whole thing with him going at people with his OnlyFans girlfriend and all that.
Yeah,
I thought it was
it
just
was bad PR for him.
it was just not a great look. But and so
Correct. I agree.
so it goes for a
Wasn't a
lot of
net
people.
positive moment for him.
You take the good with the bad and everything like that. So, but going back to his performance, his career high OPS for a season is an 860 OPS. Last year he had an 813 OPS. Drove in 31 home runs, had his 30-30 season. I'm very hesitant to commit a $300 million contract to a player of that level.
That's fair. I think, like, for example, dude, if Jazz comes back after his 4-2 WAR season, 813 OPS after missing 6 weeks, still stealing, 31 bags. If he follows this season up the same way he did or better, I don't mind giving. I'm just going to say 35 for 7 is what I'm going to stick to because I think 8 to 10 is kind of not true. So like a $245 million contract for a guy that can do that at 27, 28, I'd be willing to do it. Now, if he follows this year up with an injury-riddled season and doesn't do much, I'm not touching that number, obviously. All of my thoughts are kind of with the assumption that he follows this year up with another all-star type of year, tier
Yes.
of his own at second base. If he
Yeah.
backtracks in any way, shape, or form, no, you're not. You're maybe you've shown me your ceiling, right? I kind of do believe Jazz like is going to get better and better. That is like genuinely what
Mhm.
I think.
Okay. And I think too, I will admit the biggest thing that's holding me back. I think a 7 year, 35, 245 total in that deal is something that I'm not going to lose my brain, lose my mind over.
Sounds
If
better.
it sounds better than a 300
Nine or 10
million
is
dollar
crazy.
contract. I will admit the past two playoff performances is
Mm-hmm.
also something that's really holding me back from being like, yes. Because honestly, if he had a couple better postseasons, I'd probably be more on the bandwagon with you. And here, I'll even play devil's advocate to my own argument. Then you say, well, Rob, what about Cody Bellinger last year and the way that he performed? Absolutely right. And I think
Everyone was bad.
for 5 years of the Bellinger deal, which is why I'd be more comfortable with a Bellinger contract. But when Jazz is talking about a 7, 8 year deal, that's where I start to get a little hesitant in the waters. Is and also when you look at the Bellinger deal, I think it was more of a necessity for that outfield, especially
Mm-hmm.
defensively. But now when you relay it to Jazz Chisholm, I think yes, he is one of the best second baseman if in baseball, if not the best second baseman. I think that it's just wait to be seen after this
That's
season.
fair.
What you said, and I'm not gonna. I laugh at it now, but you're right. If he does have a good season, it's probably a different conversation. But I'd like to see because I think the Yankees are going to make the playoffs. I'd like to see him have a better postseason performance, and then I'd like to see him repeat what he did this year. Because if you look at the history of his seasons, obviously playing with the Yankees a much better season. I think it's if you isolate what he's done with the Yankees, it's tremendous production. But we just again, I want to see it for another full season, and the Yankees are probably going to ride it out. And I think the biggest factor of what like we're talking about this as we would in a logical sense of the dollar amounts and where he sits. I The biggest factor is how Brian Cashman and the Yankees really value him.
Yeah.
That's really the biggest thing
Mm-hmm.
in how they value him and what they look. Because we've heard from
Like if they
some
think George
rumbling
Lombard can come up and do half of what Jazz does, they're probably just move on.
that's the thing. And they
You
and
know.
while we totally understand that you can make the argument that that's a stupid logic, but
Yeah.
it really comes that we can say, well, Jazz has this value here. He has a uh, this OPS, this WAR, this that. But
Yanks were ready to do it with Belly this year. They were going to look at Jason and Trent and go, "Can these two guys replace Belly?" And they went, "Yeah, probably pretty close." We add in Austin Hayes, Randall Grichuk, yeah,
And that's
you know.
exactly they said, "Here you go, Cody. We do value you, but this is
But
our
at this
cap."
number,
And so I think that they're gonna, and that's a good point. They're probably going to do the exact same thing with
yeah.
Jazz Chisholm. So
And I don't. It's not like the wrong way to operate, to be honest. Like I think there are outliers, like Aaron Judge. Like you don't get to like just place a numerical number on his value,
mhm.
right? Like Juan Soto, you can't really do the same either. Um, But I hear you with the postseason stuff, and I think it's fair to be a little more optimistic with Belly in terms of like being more hopeful with him in the postseason because you see his at bats and his style of play can kind of translate to, or at least you feel can translate to October, where Jazz like gets in these funks sometimes. And you can tell he's just trying to hit bombs and shit like that, and you're like, all right, dude, like you're throwing away at bats here in October, and then like a bad call goes against your way and you're throwing a fit for the next two at bats. Like those are things that like definitely stand in your way of optimism in terms of like evaluating Jazz potential in the
Yeah.
postseason. But numbers don't lie, man. In 21 games for in 2 years with the Yanks in the postseason, 182 batting average, 259 on base, 312 slug, 571 OPS. It's not what you want.
Yeah, and and I said it to you. That's probably the thing that is standing out the most to me that is holding me back from giving him that amount of dollars. And I know how
Yes.
important he is to this lineup, but the long-term outlook, as we mentioned with the Yankees, and this is what matters, our opinions at the end of the day don't matter. If the Yankees go, yeah, hasn't really stood out to us. We could
Yep.
probably make it up elsewhere, and that's where it's really
Hmm.
gonna come in a form of whether or not they pay him a contract. But my guess on February 27th of 2025, 2026, I think that I think they're gonna ride out the rest of the season, and we'll see what the performance is. And I don't think the Yankees are really gonna move an inch
Yeah.
on how they feel about him, and that's the way it's going to be. That's just
I,
my
th-
opinion.
I agree with you there. And here's the thing too, is I don't think Jazz can be like I don't think on a team, Jazz can be like your like a championship contending team. I don't think Jazz can be like your second or third best hitter.
Well,
Like he
that's
needs to,
another
and then
yeah,
are you paying your fourth best hitter $35 million plus dollars for half a decade or more?
correct.
So you can play devil's advocate both ways, and I totally get it because like right now I do think Jazz fits well in this lineup because I think Ben Rice, Belly, Judge, and Stan honestly are all better, if not equal to hitters than Jazz. So I think he slots in nice as like a, equal four or a right behind,
Mhm.
fifth best hitter on the
But
team.
as you said, you're hopeful that he's going to get better, and
Yes,
that's that.
that's correct. Yeah.
Okay,
Buying stock
I'm hopeful
virtually.
too. I would love. I think Jazz Chisholm is a very good player, and I think that his style of play, the athleticism, the flair, the pimped home runs, I do like
Yep.
it. But when it comes down to, as you said, is when you're paying him close to what a second or third best player in the lineup is, I'm really not sure about that. And especially now with his postseason resume, I'm not so sure about it. But the other big story, before we get into the ABS balls and strikes, because that'll be an interesting conversation, Giancarlo Stanton had some quotes to Randy Miller on the tennis elbows. So this is what he came away with. These were the highlights of the quotes, or I guess you could deem them as lowlights. But he said, "I can't open a bottle. I can't open a bag of chips, a bag of anything. That's the way it is." And then he went on to say that the last parts of the quotes, he went on to say, that doesn't matter. The key is to get in the box. My last year overall numbers were low. I want a full season. So has his eyes on the prize of playing a full season in the Bronx, and we know in the short time that he did play last year, he was incredibly effective, but it was a bit shocking to hear a professional athlete of his
Hmm.
ability and just him as a massive human being and a strong guy, that when you hear that he can't open a bottle or can't open a bag of chips, that's something that would be concerning to Yankee fans, and a lot of Yankee fans were concerned about it. But I would just say at this moment, pump the brakes, only because last year we didn't even think he was going to play a season. I think me and you were talking, we didn't even think he was going
Yeah.
to play in 2025, and he did come and play. He did go and play in 2025, and he was extremely effective when he did play. He had a disappointing postseason, but when he did play in that Yankees
He was
lineup,
good.
he was really good. So as of now, it's concerning to hear the comments when he says he can't open a bag of chips, but I would just say let's wait until he plays during the season and see how effective he is, because it would not be shocking to see. I think we know you can pencil him in, hopefully, knock on wood, for he's going to miss 40, 50 games, but as long as he could play over 100 games, be in that lineup, give you maybe 30 home runs, give you close to 70, 80, 90 RBIs, that's something the Yankees need, and we'll just wait to see it. Don't have the clubbies around the Yankees clubhouse open his chips and open stuff
Yeah.
for him is my message.
Hey, Jason, can you come open this for me?
Yeah,
Um,
literally, literally.
yeah, man. I mean, G last year in 77 games hit 25 bombs. So like the idea is hopefully you get him on the field. Hopefully he's good. And it also seems like the way I took those comments and the last 2 years of context is like doesn't seem like it's something new for him really.
Hmm.
Um, and he's aware like this is going to be pain management for the rest of his career, which is arguably kind of going to be like this year and next year. That's probably
Yeah.
the extent of it. Um, so definitely concerning and kind of bizarre comments to hear. But I guess I don't care yet. I don't really know what to make of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I just think the takeaway is that yes, it's weird to hear and it's not what you want, as the great
Yeah.
Joe Girardi would say, but we know that he played through it last year and he was really good. So until it then becomes an issue, as you said, 20 249 ABs, 68 hits, 24 home runs, 66 RBIs, a 273 average, 350 on base percentage, and a 944 OPS. And the guy couldn't open a bag of chips or open a bottle. But hey, he played really good. He hit really well. He was a good baseball
Yeah.
player last year. And that's what Yankee fans should be concerned with. So, yes, it's a funny quote, but I think that that's the takeaway is just pump the brakes, wait to actually see him play in 2026. And if it's an issue, we'll see if it's an issue. But he's treating it as this is just what I have to deal with. And I'm sure there's been plenty of situations in sports, whether it be football, basketball, baseball, hockey, where players just have long term maintenance of an issue or an injury that they can play through, but it's just something they have to keep a close eye on, and that's what I think it is with Stanton. They're going to have him play on. They're going to have him have a lot of rest days. Probably won't have him play the outfield unless someone gets hurt, but he did play outfield games last year, so we'll see. We'll
This
see how
this
it.
is part of the reason they brought Goldie back too, man, is like DH.
Hmm.
Someone's got a DH. And the
Yep.
years past, it's been Willie Calhoun, Billy McKinney, blah, 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 blah.
Hmm.
It's nice for them to have like actual Stanton insurance, it
Yeah.
feels like.
So actually, on that note, I want to ask you your opinion on Goldie so far. He's been hitting pretty well in spring. He had a home run
Hmm.
against Toronto yesterday. He had a home run. Had a RBI double, I think, a couple days ago. So what do you think that they're going to do in terms of the balance between him and Ben Rice? Because the more I think about it, obviously we're expecting Ben Rice to just ascend and be better this year, and barring any step backs or
Hmm.
any step backs for step backs for Ben Rice, we're gonna expect Goldie to be a platoon guy when they face lefties. He's gonna be in there. But what do you think the mix is going to be about? Like, do you think Ben Rice is probably playing at least four times a week, and then Goldie gets the other two? What do you think?
I mean, I think it's going to be way more Ben Rice this year than last year. Like last year was pretty even. Like, hey, if there's a lefty on the mound, Goldie's going to play.
Hmm.
Um, which I think is fine to some extent, but I really want to see Ben Rice get more everyday reps in terms of just seeing every pitcher.
Yeah.
Um, I think the balance is going to be more like he's going to platoon against a tough lefty, like a Crochet, like a really good lefty. He's going to get the start
Hmm.
over Ben Rice, which I think is fine. And I really do think he's going to be like a more of a later option off the bench. Like they can go to Rosario and Goldie in those lefty lanes. So like I really do believe just based off of the money that was paid to him, the reports about him like having a really good time mentoring Ben Rice and how to play first and kind of just being like a clubhouse presence. Um, I don't think Goldie cares that much about playing time. Like if he wanted to just like play more and that was like the utmost importance to him, he would have came back. Um,
Yeah, he would have signed. Yeah,
so
I think he had higher
more
contract
money and
offers.
more playing time elsewhere. He probably could have started somewhere on a not great team, but I think you're looking at like 75% of the games at first base are going to be Ben Rice, assuming there's not like a nosedive, I mean, playing to, how performance can figure this out very easily. Um, but I think they're going to go in with like, hey, Ben's going to get all the reps at first to get, even against some lefties. I think Goldie spells him on, really tough lefty days, or maybe once a week. Maybe Goldie spells Ben Rice once a week and then DHs for G once a week. And there's
Mhm.
2 days, there's 2 days of playing for Goldie every week, but Ben Rice only loses one day because
Yeah.
you kind of supplement with Stan. So I think it'll be something like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that's how it should be treated, and it's a performance-based business. So up until that then is a glaring issue or something that they have to address. I think that's right. It's 75% with Ben Rice, and we're hoping that we get maybe a all-star Ben Rice season and
Hmm.
get over that, maybe like 30 home runs, 35 home runs, something. And there's big expectations for Ben Rice and Jazz Chisholm and some of these players in the lineup. And then there's others that were saying get it in gear and be somewhat average and be better. So
Hmm.
it's interesting. There's a lot of different facets with this team that interests Yankee fans clearly. Okay, and then as I said towards the top of the show, Randall Grichuk is going to be with this team. He's going to be another one of the righty bats that can be in this lineup. As I mentioned, he is on a minor league deal and will join as a non-roster invite. So last year he had through 272 at bats, 62 hits, 9 home runs, 27 RBIs, 228 average, 273 on base, 674 OPS. So this is just another matter of the Yankees bringing in a bat to see in spring and see where they can kind of fill out the rest of this roster. Is your gut telling you, Tyler, that Randall Grichuk is going to be on the 2026 Yankees, or what are you thinking?
I don't know, honestly. I mean, it's kind of going to be up to like, it's
How healthy
exactly
they
what.
go, how healthy they are.
Well, how healthy they are, and then if he looks bad in spring training, like they're not bringing him
Yeah,
to the
to the
40 man.
show. Hmm.
Um, I think they want him to make the team because I think they want Spencer Jones and Dominguez in AAA. I think they
Hmm.
want both those guys in AAA, and I think they want a right-handed bat. Um, so if I had to guess, I'm gonna say no.
Hmm.
That would be my guess.
Okay.
But literally, it takes one injury or 8 good spring training games to flip that.
I think that's a really good point, though, too. The more reports that come out from the beat writers, we're hearing how Jason Dominguez they're really pushing him towards AAA, which we're okay with
Hmm.
because we think he should be, at least if
Every
he's
day.
just, yeah, he needs every day at bats. He should at least be developing and getting better with more at bats. And we know that Yankee fans are going to be a little bit upset because there's a lot of promise with Dominguez. He finally was up, but there's not a slot for him to really play because Trent Grisham is in center field, Cody Bellinger in left, and then 99 in right field. So that is interesting. Maybe they brought in Grichuk, and we know it's, I don't want to say bottom of the barrel scraping, but it's somewhat you're picking,
It's
seeing where
what
you
it
can
is. Yeah.
picking out needles in a haystack and seeing what can really work for the team. But I think that's a good point that maybe they're hoping for one of these guys to really show something in spring because we've seen it happen before where they have some of these lesser named players perform well in spring, and then they bring
Hmm.
him onto the main roster where Randall Grichuk has been more of a veteran. That if they see him perform well, that gives them more of an excuse to say, okay, we're going to start Dominguez in AAA, and we're going to have more of a veteran presence to start the season. Not to say that down the road that they can't. If an injury happens or something else, that Jason Dominguez won't be up. But I think for his benefit and the Yankees as a whole, it just makes more sense for him to start there. Although with Spencer Jones hitting ding dongs in spring, that's pretty interesting. Although it's not
Yeah.
as if they need another lefty. But I guess
I
that's
don't know.
that's
Whatever. I have no idea what's gonna happen with Spencer Jones.
yeah. What I mean, he's hitting moonshots. So
Did the
uh,
same thing all year in AAA last year
yeah,
too.
there's not a
They don't like
spot.
him. I don't think they like him, dude. I read someone had some stat on um on Twitter that is like at pitches in the zone. He has like an unbelievably like a very low contact rate at pitches he swings at in the zone. So like if you have a low contact rate at pitches you swing at outside of the zone, that's not as big of a deal to teams, to my knowledge, because you're chasing pitches.
Mhm.
If you are seeing good pitches to hit and just not hitting them because you're getting beat in the zone by AAA guys 50% of the time, you are gonna get mopped in in the show against pitchers that will constantly jam you in the zone and beat you in the zone with pitches that appear as strikes. So I don't know, man. I think he's Joey Gallo. So I kind of feel bad. Um, I don't know what they're gonna do with him.
Yeah,
Keep sitting nukes.
yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fan service when he does hit the home runs. I'm not gonna be that harsh, but uh, I, I talked about this last episode with Chef, and I am sort of overhyping prospects. I just
Hmm.
am. I am. I've told you. So
They're irrelevant at this point.
I'm very much in a wait and see mode with everybody. And
Hmm.
so I like seeing Spencer Jones. It's cool. I like when the Yankees tweet out the videos. I don't expect him to be on this roster barring a significant injury, which we have 3 more weeks, get to spring or get out of spring training, get to opening day, and let's see this thing through and see this team start playing. There's going to be people that are crying for him. That's an interesting facet of how he could then be how he could adjust in the major league level, but we're only going to really know until he's up here.
Hmm.
My guess now that Bellinger's in the mix and we know Bellinger's back and Grisham, I don't think he's going to touch the field unless there's an injury. So I say there's like a 15% chance. Is that too generous? What would you put to
No,
put?
I think 15 is pretty accurate right there.
Okay.
Like, I mean, it only takes a Trent hamstring and
Yeah, I don't want to put it at zero or
Randall Grichuk to suck for
yeah.
one of these guys to really be
But then
on the
again,
cusp, you know?
there's no benefit for Spencer Jones to be on the if the main three in that outfield is healthy. There's no benefit for him not getting everyday play or significant
Yeah.
play. So it's a big deal. It goes for him and Jason. So that's just the way that I really look at it.
Dude, I
Um,
almost think this is the year of them putting prospects in like, dude, I think Volpe's gonna spend some time away from the
yes.
team,
Well,
honestly.
it's we
You
talked
know,
about it 2 episodes ago. It is because of the free agent eligibility. It's going to get
yeah,
pushed back a year.
yeah,
Take it to the bank.
yeah.
I am on
If I
that
can bet on
bandwagon.
that on what's that, Poly Market or whatever it
Yeah,
is, put your
Kalshi or
savings on
whatever.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever you can just bet like random shit on.
No, no, I think, and mentioned last episode that Volpe's been rehabbing a little bit and with the shoulder and was hoping that maybe like an April timeline, and then they're gonna mask it as
I think
a
they really like Cabby too.
they're gonna
Or
well, he's been performing really well in spring,
yeah,
and they're just gonna mask the Volpe thing as, hey, we want to give him somewhat of a rehab stint,
just fucking
uh,
earn your way back, asshole. How about that?
wink, yeah, exactly, wink, wink. We're actually just trying to get him in AAA so we don't have to then pay him sooner
Yeah.
than later. Um,
At this rate, they're not paying him. Who's paying them at this point, you know?
no, nobody.
Just get like
Uh,
decent, be good again or something.
so another topic, I guess we could talk about this for a little bit. This is a little bit of a shakeup, but CC Sabathia Tyler is having his number 52 retired by the Yankees on September 26th. That made some headway. I think it was 2 days ago.
Yep.
The Yankees are going to run out of numbers, man. in in Monument Park with all these numbers. They're gonna run
They
out of
definitely
numbers.
will.
And I'm not saying I think CC Sabathia, Hall of Fame player. I want to pull up his numbers too, really quick. Uh,
6.2 WAR season in 2009.
I think it's awesome because especially for another generation of Yankee fans, which it really was in 2009, that didn't necessarily watch the 90s teams or weren't old enough to really pay as
Dude, he
close
threw
attention.
230 innings that year.
Um, I it, he it it's cool to see CC, and we know that he was just a warrior for the Yankees, and it's going to be cool that the whole fan service and everything later in the year. We know he had like a plaque day last year for
Yep.
when he got into the Hall of Fame, so I think that it is a deserving honor for him to be in Monument Park. I do think it's funny that the Yankees are continuing to run out of numbers, though. I do think it is
Yes.
pretty funny.
I don't know
And
what they're gonna do.
we're gonna have triple digit players now batting for the Yankees, number 105. They're
Yeah.
gonna have to do it, or
I
they're
think
gonna.
one of the they need to stop issuing numbers to coaches though, is one of like these bigger like there's no reason for every coach to have a number.
I don't know. Like, what are they going to do? Are they going to unretire numbers? I know the Giants did that with Malik Neighbors in football, and that doesn't look as good. Yankee fans are
Yeah, I
clearly
don't
not going to like that. So,
I don't know.
I
I think they're
I
gonna do it until they have like an actual problem on their hands. They're gonna
I
roll
don't
out
know.
70.
I
They're
think
gonna
we
roll
got a
out all these high
problem.
numbers forever, dude.
We know Judge is a lock for that, so take
Yep.
99 off the board. But I think it's awesome to see CC go in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, those numbers are getting slim for availability. We're gonna be having some more people have to wear zero and double zero and
Yep.
000 and then 105, 102, whatever it is. I just think it's funny. Um, Also, so based on some spring training performance, Garrett Cole is also throwing against live batters. He was pitching against Aaron Judge, reached 97 on the gun. So love to see that from Garrett. So he's working his way back. Carlos Rodon also building up his pitching. He made a quote to, I believe it was New York Post Sports, saying that basically right now he's kind of relearning his pitching after surgery of the elbow spur, the bone spur in his elbow, and the loose bodies that he had with that issue in that surgery. I think it was in December or November after the season. So Rodon is making his way back. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see at least Garrett Cole a little sooner than we expected, just based on what we're seeing from spring. But obviously, don't want to rush it whatsoever. Bearded Garrett is also back, Tyler, so that's going to
Yes.
be a demon. I love
Got a
seeing the
nice
beard
little
on
gut
Garrett.
on them too. I love it.
Garrett pitches better with a little pudge going. So
Yeah, well, every pitcher does. Um,
it's the
no, I'm
skinny,
very
it's the really skinny ones that give you trouble, that get
yeah,
injured.
exactly. I'm pumped for where Garrett's at, man. I bet we'll see him closer to the end of May. I think
Mhm.
someone did there's like roster moves that need to be made at a certain point. And if they just 60-day IL Garrett, I think it takes him to like May 23rd or something like that. So I think that's what they're gonna do. I think you're looking at like that third week of May. Um, Rodon, the timeline honestly sounded kind of nuts to me from the beginning. I have a feeling he's going to miss like 3 or 4 starts in like end of April, very tip of May. He'll be
Mhm.
ready to roll type of thing. I'm
Yeah,
not
I mean,
concerned about either of them.
yeah. Luckily, they have a bit of depth now with Heel and Weathers, and
Well,
so
yeah, and honestly, man, like I want to give all these like, bro, I'm genuinely, and I don't think this is me buying into Yankee hype or prospect or anything. I don't think we've had like a pool of pitchers like with this amount of talent in quite some time.
no, it's a really talented
Like
group.
the last one I can think of was like Clark and Devi, and that like wasn't even real. Like it
On
was like Clark should be really good, but Devi was like randomly good, and then he sucked.
Honestly, this is some of the best pitching depth that this
Can,
team has had
yeah,
since
and
the.
Weathers is low key nasty,
Well, yeah, we're going
dude,
to talk
from the
about
stuff you
that.
see.
But I don't want to call them as good because they have to win World Series, but this is legitimately some of the best pitching they've had since the days of, say, like Musina, Coney,
Yeah,
Clemens. This is a stacked pitching staff. So,
and no one
uh,
even like talks about Will Warren anymore. Who like
no, and
was
he
like
performed. He
pretty
had an
good
outing the
last
other
year.
day. So, yeah. As you said with Ryan Weathers, so Weathers made a really good impression so far in spring. He went 3 2/3, 5 Ks, 12 whiffs, a 52% whiff rate, and a fastball that topped out at 99.8 miles per hour. So I guess you can just round up and call it a 100. I think it came up
Yep.
on the Yes Network gun as 100 when he threw it. So Weathers in that first little outing made a excellent impression on Yankee fans, and we're
Mhm.
hoping for more of that. So I'm excited for him, and it's a lefty dynamic that the Yankees obviously have with Rodon. Rodon's more of a flamethrower than Fried, but if Ryan Weathers is topping out at close to 100 miles an hour, he's got some juice. So, and he was wearing the pinstripes when he was throwing, so that was pretty good.
Yeah, I think Ryan Weathers the only thing is really keeping him healthy. I mean, Like we talked about a month or so ago, or whenever they made the trade, was like, hey, he's kind of been good when he's been on the field, and he's really supposed to be a solid pitcher if we can keep him healthy.
Mhm.
Um, I think that's what it's about. But even like you dream about LeGrand throwing like 102 right now. Elmer's looked really good. Um, Ben Hess. So I'm pumped to see where this pitching staff can take us. I'm pumped to see who can kind of fiddle into the bullpen because we'll need that at some point. But pitching wise, they're in a good spot, I'd
Mhm.
say, in
For
terms
sure.
of depth.
And then I wanted to get it. So, other performances we've heard of Jazz hitting some home runs yesterday. Caballero, that'll be a conversation for a lot of podcasts down the road of just what they're doing at shortstop. So, he's gotten off to a nice start, had a home run. I think it was 3 days ago or three of the spring training games ago. And then I think last night he also had a little RBI too. So, Caballero, man, put that pressure on Volpe, put that
Hmm.
pressure on the Yankees to keep you playing at shortstop, play good defense, and Yankee fans are more likely than not going to like you. Also, a little side note too, Oswaldo Cabrera's status for opening day is up in the air, according to Aaron Boone. So, Tyler, that's another player that we're talking about that
Shoving young guys into AAA, they're all
can
going back,
can
dude.
play the outfield, can play the infield. So we don't have an exact timeline on when Cabrera is going to be back. But again, when we said, oh, if they're bringing in Grichuk and they have uh, players like Oswaldo, then Jason and Spencer are more likely
Hmm.
than not going to be in AAA, barring something unforeseen happening. But so far in those games, Jason also was performing well in the spring training games. Got a couple hits, got an RBI, making some noise on the bases. So that's good to see. I wanted to talk about the ABS balls strike system. So we know Wells has been using it a lot. That's the was some significance that was coming out that the Yankees were really testing it out. And that this is the important testing phase for the
Yeah.
ABS is during spring training. We see the Yankees testing it. You want that to happen. You want them to overuse it. Who cares? The challenge
Hmm.
is going out. I think it's going to greatly benefit the season. I did see an interesting clip that was piqued my interest was it was I forget the exact game. I don't think it may have been a Yankee game. I think it was a different spring training game where it was the ABS system truly, when you talk about splitting hairs,
Hmm.
does split hairs. If the ball and it looked like a strike, but as it came up on the ABS system, it was right outside the zone. And so
Just like tennis, baby.
I think it's at large, I think ABS is going to really benefit baseball. And I also think there's going to be somewhat of a strategy for teams to know when to use their challenges, maybe not be as willy nilly about when they're going to use it and be smart about it if they want to save them late in games. And there's going to be a lot of emotion associated with it. We know that the Yankees are one of the most outwardly spoken teams about bad strike three calls and just strike calls
Hmm.
in general and everything. So I think it's going to be an interesting thing to see how they balance emotions of when to use the challenges because you only get two a game. As long as you're getting them right, you can retain your challenges. But it's going to be interesting to see that. And I think there's also going to be moments, as I said, with splitting hairs that fans are going to be pissed off where it appears like a strike in the zone, but now, as you said, that tennis view of the ball,
Yeah.
nope, is right outside the zone. So I think that's something to be a little prepared for. But I think it's good for baseball.
No, I think it's very good, and I think we're kind of seeing how the Yankees are going to use it. I think there was a Boone. I don't remember if it was a Boone quote I heard, or if he was on the fan, or what it was. But he talked about they're not going to save any of them virtually. Like we are going to use them and be aggressive from the jump. And I think he virtually cited some stats in the last couple of years of AAA it being used or whatever, where he said like 70% of teams that try and save them like don't end up using them
Mhm.
because that opportunity doesn't arise like as much late in games. So virtually seems like they're going to get on them early. Um, you know, I think we'll see more like who is allowed to challenge, you know, kind of unwillingly and who's not. I think will
Mhm.
be the biggest
The
thing.
Yankees will be very willing. There's
Like what
sometimes.
players I mean though. Like
Oh,
does Volpe get the same leeway as Judge? I hope not. You know,
Hmm. That's a good point. That's a good point. I do think the Yankees sometimes irritate me slightly when they're arguing strike three calls, so I know that they're going to be very they like to talk about it. So I think
and they
that
like to be right. Yeah,
they like to be right about it. So this is
yeah,
gonna truly give us a truly give us as fans, truly give the umpires and the Yankees an idea that's going to separate the truth from the falses. So I think it's a good
yeah.
thing for baseball, man. I think it's
I
good.
like it that it gives us some closure on every pitch too.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, all right, well, no, we're not going to end on this note, or if I have a challenge and there's this big
But
spot on, you know, you get an answer,
but
assuming
imagine
you have your challenges.
it's going to be somewhat like football, though. Imagine they waste their challenge on a strike. Like it could be they only have one of their challenges left. It's a maybe it's say the third, fourth, or fifth inning, and they use it on a call that maybe emotionally they're not all there. They're saying, "Oh,
Yep.
that wasn't a strike." Turns out to be a strike, and then there's a later call in the game where, "Ooh, could have used that challenge." So
Wish you had it. Yeah.
I think it's going to be awesome, man. I
I
really
like it
do.
because that's more strategy. It
Yeah,
shouldn't be like, all right, let's
it's like
double check
football.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's
I think
good.
it'll work very well. Yeah.
And then lastly, we'll end on this note. John Heyman with an early report. I don't know if you saw this come out, but the early estimates suggested in the proposed salary cap for next season coming in around the 260 million to 280 million range and the floor around the 140 160 million dollar range. So that was a report that came out from John Heyman today. Uh I don't want to think too much about the 2027 season, but I think it's going to be a slew of back and forth rumors of how each side is feeling. And we didn't
Hmm.
talk about it last week, but Tony Clark got nabbed for all of his little fiasco there.
Banging his sister-in-law.
His sister-in-law, and then
What a
also
guy.
potential shady activity with the allocation of funds of where they were spending it. So
Yeah.
talk about, uh drama shows. This is one of the best
Yeah.
dramas that you'll see. But my reaction to the early estimates, if they're putting a cap around 260, 280, we are in for a little bit of a
Yeah.
longer
Well,
haul.
I think people need to understand too. It's like it's owners versus players, and then it's also big market owners versus small market owners.
Yeah, it's a
Because
double-sided battle.
you think the Dodgers group and Cohen want like a $250 million cap?
Nah.
Probably not. You know. Um, so I don't know, man. I don't know what's gonna happen. I wish they could just negotiate and not like leak all this bullshit to the media. Um, But whatever, dude. I really don't care at this point. If they're gonna throw the potential to miss baseball games out the window in a period of time where baseball's not never really been as strong, then you deserve whatever comes. The only one that gets hurt in this is us,
Mhm.
the fans. So
Yeah, that's what it is. I hope we don't get screwed out of any games, but I don't know. We'll see.
I don't hope so either. I heard someone, I don't know who it was on ESPN radio, talking about like how long it took for like baseball to recover from like missing the '94 World Series. And it's like, yeah, you deserve to suffer if you cause us to miss games.
Yeah. The Yankees were good that year too, and I think it was the story back then was like the Montreal Expos had one of the best teams you'll see. They had Pedro Martinez, they had a bunch of stacked players. I think they had Randy Johnson on that team, and then there was
Hmm.
just a season wasted away because of it's just fans get screwed, and I have to put it out of my thought because we got to enjoy this season. So
Yeah. Let's
um,
go win this year, Rob.
let's go in this year. Get through spring training healthy, please. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Hopefully, well, I'm sure there will be other quotes and other topics of conversation coming down the pipeline, but we'll see how it goes. Also, Yankees going off to WB, as I mentioned towards the top of the show. I think the first WBC game for USA is March 5th, I want to say. So, Tyler, are you going to be watching or
Oh yeah, I'll be watching.
do you, your predict? Let's throw out our predict. Do you think Team USA wins it all, or do you think another team does?
Well, I did before Scooble did his little
Yeah,
thing.
how about that, man?
Like, buddy,
And
I don't watch you against frickin' Jazz and Great Britain.
well, Skeens is only pitching 2 games as well.
That's what
And
he said?
yeah, he's only pitching. He's not going to be. They're not going to be pitching in the semifinals.
Come
So
on, Paul. What do you got to worry about, buddy?
I mean,
I mean, what are we doing over there?
I think in pool play, it's U.S., Mexico, Italy, Great Britain, and Brazil. So, I mean, if they don't make it out of the pool play, then they got an issue. And then quarterfinals, they would match up with teams like Puerto Rico, Cuba, Canada, Colombia, Panama. So, and then on the other side of the bracket would be Japan,
Hmm.
Dominican Republic. So they would only match up with a team like Japan or Dominican
So who does it? What
Republic.
does that mean? Like Brian Bayo is my game one starter or my winner go take home
I think it.
WBC championship starter?
I think I want to look up the rest of their roster real quick.
But
But coming,
I understand the Scooble
I
thing.
will
He's in a
say, well,
contract
yeah, he's in
here.
a contract here. I do say, man, though, coming off the heels of the hockey game, I am very pumped for it because
Oh yeah.
if they're gonna care about it a lot. I mean, if you look at this pitching staff, Tyler, we'll be relying on Clay Holmes. Nolan McLean is in there for from the Mets, so he's a top prospect that'll be playing. I mean,
Yeah,
Joe Ryan
he's
is
very good.
pitching. Joe Ryan is a good pitcher.
Oh,
Uh,
for Joe Ryan, I did not know that,
Logan Webb.
honestly.
So they got some guys. They got some
Yeah,
guys
that'd
in
be all
there,
right.
and we know Bednar, so they'll be okay. But it's a lot. I would say that the drop off from a Skeens and a Scooble than to a Joe Ryan. Not saying Joe Ryan's not. Joe Ryan is an excellent pitcher,
Nah, Joe Ryan's very good.
but Skeens and Scooble though, man, are
Yeah, Skeens and Scooble are the top two in the world.
they're gonna give you a complete game for your country, and that's
Yeah.
what I was hoping for. But
I think it's hilarious. Like Clayton Kershaw just decided to suit up for this.
I think it's cool. It's his little send off. He's already retired
Yeah,
from MLB, but he's gonna play in the WBC. I think he's calling games for NBC as well, or he's gonna be on their
that's
panel.
nuts.
So I think that's funny.
But
He's getting his
yeah,
last hurrah.
even without Scooble and Skeens for a potential, end of the tournament. I mean, Logan Webb, Joe Ryan, Nolan McLean, those are three really good pitchers.
Yeah,
So
they'll hold their own.
Matthew Boyd pitched really well last year.
And honestly, the expectation is with the rest of that offense, when you have a Bobby Witt, you have a Judge, you have a Cal Raleigh,
Yeah.
you're going to just hopefully score more runs and then hope the pitching
Yep.
staff just pieces it together a little bit. So I'm excited that they'll
Did
play.
not know Goldie was on the USA
Yeah,
team.
he's a righty bat off
Yeah.
the bench for both Team USA and the Yankees. So,
There you
um,
go.
but that's it for episode 234. Appreciate everyone for listening. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and then go ahead over to our socials on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, as well as Twitter to give us a follow there and keep up with all the Yankee news and conversations that we'll be having. That's it for episode 234. We'll catch you at 235. Peace.